I don't think I have ever wanted to not be an actor. So whenever I used to dress up, we all used to do the तुम्हें कोई हक नहीं बनता कि तुम इतनी सुंदर हो. Not fair. We used to do all of that, सारी लड़के एक दूसरे को देख के. Yeah. What Ananya brings in, Sara brings in something entirely different. Sure. What Tara brings in is entirely different from what these other two bring in. Yeah. So I really think there's like place for everyone. For me, as a woman, I've felt very empowered. Like I will never think that there is something that a guy can do that I can't because of my mother. We are just now building a relationship, and and my dad is also doing very well in life, and yeah, so we definitely are working on it.
Her superstar mother, Shweta Tiwari, has ruled the TV industry for almost 2 decades, and now her daughter is gearing up to win your hearts with her debut film, Rosie, the Saffron Chapter. Please welcome Palak Tiwari. Hi Palak.
Hi.
Firstly, it's an honor to have you with us.
It's an honor to be here.
So even before we start talking about Rosie, your debut film, I want to start by asking you, I'm sure this must be a new phase for you completely, making your acting debut. So are the interviews, all the attention a new phase for you, or have you got accustomed to this by now?
I think I was imagining all this in my head for so many years now. Now though it feels like, this too I do every day. Because I was living in my head only for all these years. Now that it's finally happening, I feel, I've been doing it. So it's not as new to me as I expected it to feel.
But did you always want to be an actor? Was that a dream?
Definitely. Always. For as long as I can remember. I don't think I have ever wanted to not be an actor. There was, I think, if I'm being completely transparent, there was a phase that lasted 2 days when I was, I think, 11, when I thought that I could be a Victoria's Secret model. But then I realized I'm short, so that ended very quickly. But no, always wanted to become an actor for sure.
But do you remember a moment which must be like a pivotal moment for you when you decided, this is why I want to become an actor?
I will see, I think, whenever I watched Bollywood films, and and Bollywood films, I think the way we make our films in this industry, it is very emotional. It is made with the intention of evoking a very strong emotion in a person, and I think so many of our actors really do that, you know, and it is that feeling of shit, I know this person is acting, I know this person is putting up a facade and performing right now. Why am I feeling so affected by their troubles?
Sure.
And that's, I think, what really piqued my interest.
True. And I think all of us have gone through that, right? I mean, the moment when we know that it's
acting,
an act,
but it really,
yeah.
I still remember in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, when Shah Rukh sir enters and he just does this, and he's acting, but I'm just like, oh my god, he's back home. It really resonates with me.
True. When you mentioned Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, I thought you would say Pooh. Was she an inspiration ever?
I mean, to some capacity, I think Kareena Kapoor has been an icon for everyone, right? I think when you see her and her choreograph, you're just like, wow, who doesn't want that?
Correct.
But at the same time, I think only she can do what she does, because there's only one her.
Yeah.
So I think I understood that much earlier on. So I never really wanted to emulate her particular choreograph, because I think there is only one her, and only she can be, and only she can pull that off. Yeah. But of course, she's been an icon for everybody, and that is irrefutable, for sure.
As a child, have you done a lot of Pooh? Can you imitate her?
I mean, not a lot of in my childhood, but in my college days, we used to, because Pooh is the one fashion icon that we have, in our Indian cinema. So whenever I used to dress up, we all used to do the तुम्हें कोई हक नहीं बनता कि तुम इतनी सुंदर हो. Not fair. We used to do all of that, सारी लड़के एक दूसरे को देख के. But love that film. Love that film.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about Rosie, the Saffron Chapter, it's your debut film. It's here.
Yes.
And it's a horror film, Palak. Very unusual choice to.
That is, and I think that was the reason why I wanted to do it, because I realized, and obviously I'll be very transparent. I feel, especially in this particular phase of the industry, so many new people are coming in, and everyone's preferred choice of a debut would be a rom-com, or would be, something that's presenting them in a very beautiful light. And of course, I wanted that initially as well. But when Rosie came to me, I just felt like it was so fitting because, you know, it would give me, it felt different and it felt like I was challenging myself. And I thought to myself, I have a whole career to do what I've always wanted to do, but just to start on a note that's very unfamiliar to me.
Sure.
That felt like a good challenge.
Sure.
So that really spoke to me about this film.
Sure. The film has known faces. It has Arbaz Khan, it has Vivek Oberoi. So there are familiar faces out there, but horror as a genre is very niche. And it's a very popular genre with whoever who likes watching horror films.
Right.
But that's not a very, you know, mainstream genre that people usually make their debut with. Was that a concern?
It was more than a concern. I feel like it was a USP to me because I thought with your debut, I feel like everyone is not expecting you to give a great performance, you know, and I thought and that is obviously the ideal way out because a first movie is a lot of pressure and you're only finding yourself as an actor.
True.
But for me, I thought if I have to challenge myself, it has to be now, you know, because after this, I would want to do the things that I've always, you know, bachpan se, you know, like kind of done in my room. Yeah. But Rosie was something I never expected to see myself in a horror film. And I think more than horror, Rosie is it's a psychological thriller because you don't know what happened to the girl.
Correct.
And it's a true story. And the way that, you know, our director, Vishal sir, has presented it, it's so nice and so just creative. And I think that was really interesting to me. So that was definitely a USP to me, that it's a psychological thriller. And, you know, the thing about horror, and I feel for a debut, is that it has so much to play with.
Yeah.
You know, even as a heroine, you get to play with so many emotions, you know, because especially I'm playing the spirit.
Yeah.
So there's so much to, you know, work with there.
Sure.
So I felt like, yeah, it'll be a great playground to, you know, really get the fuels running and all that. So I think that's why.
You know, comparisons are very common for actors, particularly.
And inevitable.
It's just gonna be there. And even before I get on to your comparisons with Shweta, I want to ask you, how do you react to comparisons or when competition people will say with the other newbies, like there's Ananya Pandey, there's Sara Ali Khan. How would you react to those kind of competition things that will come out soon?
You know, the way I see it, and you might call me extremely optimistic, but the way I see it, it's like, I think it's a very large industry, and I think there is a unique place for everyone.
Yeah.
You know what Ananya brings in, Sara brings in something entirely different.
Sure.
What Tara brings in is entirely different from what these other two bring in.
Yeah.
So I really think there's like place for everyone. And as far as competition is concerned, I don't think these girls are competing. I don't think I'm competing, you know? And I just don't think there needs to be this, you know, like animosity, because I really am fond of every single of these girls and I really like their work. So as long as that's there, I don't think there's any reason to, you know, be very competitive. Because like I said, I think we all bring in very different things.
Yeah, and more power to you for thinking like this. It's so refreshing.
Thank you.
So nice. But what about the comparisons with Shweta? That will always be there.
So I feel like comparisons are made and they affect you when there's a sense of insecurity, you know, and comparisons I feel will affect me as an individual when I somewhere deep down feel ki, why am I being compared to her? I'm the way like better, you know. But I have never thought I'm better than my mother. I have never been that delusional. You know, she has been doing this for so long, and even when she came in, she's just, my mother is a natural, you know, like she is. And I have always admired that about her. But when people compete me with her, I swear, like even when people say, you know, like, your mother's way better looking than you, I'm like, yeah, I know. You know, like, look at her. I'm my mother's biggest fan. So even if I'm being compared to her, to me it's a compliment. It's like, kar lo compare, mujhe to fark nahi padta. I don't know, she's better than me. You know, I feel like if anything, you're lowering my mother's value by comparing her to like her chittiver daughter. You know, so I really think my mother deserves comparisons that are much greater.
No, but she's lovely and so are you. So there's no
Thank you. Also, by the way, I'm not sure many people know this, and I just want to say this for my mother. He thinks I look like you. So you do with that what you will.
I do. Shweta, I really do. She looks like
it's
you.
On camera now. So.
But, you know, also about taking the simpler route, maybe you could have gone the TV way. Your mother has a dominance there. Everybody knows her.
Yeah.
But you chose to go for films, which is lovely. There's nothing wrong with it. But why films and not TV for you?
Like you said, TV would have been the simpler route because if anything, I would have been a legacy in TV. So speaking of, I think I would have gotten a lot more than I deserved at the time if I was to go into television. And there were offers made that, where I was offered way more than I deserved at the time. But I feel like my mother's already done everything that there is to do in television. And I think if I try to follow in her footsteps there, I would fall flat on my face. Because I feel like, she is television. Like she does embody so much of everything that people love about television. And also I feel like as a child growing up on television sets, I've explored everything that there is to explore about television. And films, it was this like unexplored domain, and I've always had like a little inkling towards films only. Because I feel just the fact that a film is like quick, you come, you fall in love with these characters, the story is wrapped in 2.5 hours and you go home.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And for me it was always films, and I think my mother always also wanted that for me.
Lovely.
Yeah, and also I will say with television, I feel you need, because I think television is extremely difficult because you need to have like so many ladies and so many women and so many families resonate with you. And in a film you're just playing a character. You're that character and you need to be true to that character. But in TV, because TV is genuinely made for families.
Yeah.
And it's, it's meant to please an audience.
Sure.
I feel like my mom could deal with that because, well, she's perfect. But with me, I feel like I just want to play characters that I like.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pleasing like the whole world. I mean, obviously I want people to like me. Come on, who doesn't?
Sure.
But while I do what I love, and my personality is more true to, I feel like, the kind of roles that are coming in.
You were speaking about the TV business, and TV business can be very grilling, and I'm sure you're aware about this. They have mad shifts. They hardly have offs.
Yeah.
And they are working in back-to-back shifts, and they cannot skip a day, even sometimes if they are unwell, because they have to deliver the episode as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Do you remember this time when Shweta used to go through these shifts, and how did you as a child deal with her busy schedule?
Honestly, I really do remember that because Kasauti was a very popular show, and it had great episodes, and it required a lot in one episode, and she was constantly shooting. But for me as a child, it was not, it never concerned me because I thought my mother was such a, she was so cool. I thought, wow, she goes and she acts, and I thought she's like the coolest person on the planet. So I loved the fact that she was shooting, and I loved being on her sets, and I hated when we were going home and she'd say pack up. I said, ho gaya, bus. So I really idolized that about her. And I'm sure even she's the kind of person, she loves working. So even she really enjoyed that. So yeah.
Also, Shweta has been a single parent to you for a very long time, and her struggle, her hard work, personally and professionally, we have all seen very closely all over the years. Do you think these tough times have brought the two of you more closer?
Definitely. I feel like that it has caused a better understanding. And we've just become more forgiving of each other as well. And hardships will keep coming and going, but as long as I have her, I think I'm sorted it, honestly.
But she's very inspiring. I really think she's very inspiring.
She
Do you
is.
Look at her like that?
Also for me, as a woman, I've felt very empowered. Like I will never think that there is something that a guy can do that I can't because of my mother. And because of the way she's raised me and because of the things I've seen her do. And I think that's something that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
Lovely. Are you in touch with your father?
I feel like, yes, I am. And, we are just now building a relationship, and, and my dad is also doing very well in life. And yeah, so we definitely are working on it.
Lovely. What's your idea on fitness?
For me, I love gymming because I feel like it. Also, when you're trying to be on screen, you need to be in good shape. I have always had good metabolism. So I've always eaten like a pig for as long as I can remember. I am such a, I just eat like a maniac. even my spot dada and everyone, they need to keep things away from me, because there was this time when I was shooting for Rosie, and I had like 2 days off in my schedule, and I was just craving chocolate, and I swear I just really hope Kinita ma'am, my dietitian, doesn't see this, but I was like, मेरे लिए Snickers ले आना. So बचपन से they had this adat of like getting me 10-15 of everything, and he got me 15 Snickers, and when he came back the next day there were only 2 left.
Wow.
So I keep eating, I'm just like, I'm one of those people who eat when they're bored. But when I'm working out, I feel like that's satiated much more, because I'm doing something with my energy instead of eating. And I personally really like working out because it makes me feel, and also I have really bad stamina. So it's really helped me with that. And but primarily, I will not come here and lie and say ki I love working out, that is the lifestyle. I mean, nobody really likes working out. If you're saying you like working out, you're lying, but I need to do it because, this is something that I want to do in life, and you need to be in a certain shape, at least in your best shape. So I think I do it, that's why, but also my trainer makes it really fun. So kudos to Sahil Bhaiya for that, but it's fun, and I do it as my routine, but it's not something that I wake up and like, yes, gym today. So that is there for sure.
I recently read an interview of yours where you said that your mother would have, you were asked how your mother would react if you do intimate scenes, and you said she's not that controlling that way.
Yeah.
Do you speak to her about these scenes? Do you discuss? Do you
I
ask
speak
for
to
her
my
guidance?
mother about everything. Like, my mother knows things that she shouldn't know, if I'm being honest. And I know things that I shouldn't know. Like, there are times when we are just talking and I'm just like, this is not normal. Stop telling me all this. But honestly, I tell her everything and she knows everything. But I personally avoid intimate scenes, at least right now, because I feel like I'm really young and I don't know, So, but if I was like of an opposing mindset, she would have still been like, okay, yeah, that's your choice. Because she is always really, my nani is the kind of person, she's always really trusted my mom. And she's always, even when things have seemed hard and unconventional and people have not really agreed with it, my nani's been like, you think it's right, you do it. Wow. And I think that's really reflected on my mother's upbringing of me as well. So my mother's always saying, you think it's right, you do it. And for me, I am not a people pleaser, I'm a mother pleaser. So I can, as long as my mother thinks I'm not doing anything wrong, I'll do it like khulla, But if my mother thinks I'm doing it wrong, then I'm like, shit, what have I done in life? So yeah.
I have more of friends now.
Yeah, friends. Actually, not even friends, because she's too mean to me. We are like sisters. So there are times when she wants something, so she'll be nice, and then I'll push her. And then when there are times when I want something, and then she'll push me. So we're like sisters. She's forgotten how to be a mother to me, I'm telling you. She treats me like a sister only.
Sure.
So, yeah.
How are you getting up for the nepotism debate that's soon gonna surround you? Do you consider it to be a privilege?
It definitely is a privilege. But I feel like apart from the reasons that people list, apart from that also, I feel like not just for me, but for every other person that's considered to be like a nepotism kid as well, even for them, I think it's a privilege just knowing your parents so personally, people that are so idolized by so many others.
Yeah.
That I feel is such a privilege. Knowing this person's, like moral ethic, their work ethics. Just knowing that about them is just, I feel like that is such a privilege.
Correct.
Because that's one thing that only I have and nobody else has. But also, yes, from a career point of view, definitely. You cannot sit here and lie about that. But I will be honest and I will say I've not had that. Because like I said, in television, yes. But in movies, my mother really doesn't have those connections. I do have the recognition more than I deserve at this point. But I think it pretty much ends there.
Sure.
For in my context. But what I've always felt about nepotism, or even just with, I believe that if you have as an actor the capability to come up with a director or like a great production team and like create this synergy that people love, that goes beyond where you come from.
Absolutely.
And that goes beyond who your dad is or who your mom is. They don't care. so many great actors that we have been outsiders. You know, Akshay sir was an outsider.
Yeah.
People have not sat here and said ki, I like him more because he's an outsider. They like him because they like him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if your work speaks volumes, it will always speak volumes. You know, and you cannot deny that.
Sure, but this also debate comes with social media trolls, and I'm sure you must be getting a lot of that. How do you deal with trolls then?
Trolling has a lot to do with like a clashing opinion. I mean, sure, there are times when trolling is, I would not say it's right, because I don't think it improves anyone. Even if you've made a mistake, trolling someone is not gonna.
It's not fair.
It's not fair, because who doesn't make mistakes?
True.
You know, and especially talking about the newer kids of my generation being trolled. We are children.
Yeah.
You know, like we've just come out of our teenagers and we're trying to like, you know, it's like. So this is our equivalent of like people interning and, you know, like doing their first job.
Yeah.
If someone messes up their first job, imagine like the whole internet bashing that person because that person dropped the files. That person did that.
Sure.
That is so unfair.
It's harsh.
You know, it's harsh and it's unrealistic. How do you expect a person that's new to the job that they're doing to be immaculate?
I agree.
That's unrealistic. So I feel trolls they're not helping anyone.
Yeah.
And they're not benefiting in any way.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like people troll you with an intention of thinking, you know, we're pointing it out to you, you don't know. But trust me, as an actor, if you make a mistake, or even in an interview while we're talking, if I was to mess up here, I would know before anyone else would know. And that, you going home with that, oh, shit, I messed up, that's what improves you, not the trolls.
Yeah.
That is just embarrassing ki shit, so many people notice.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel like when I am ever trolled, which I feel like the only trolling I get is, oh, your mom is better than you. You know, I'm like, okay, fine, fair enough, I agree, I'm with you. You know, but so it really doesn't affect me, because also I will say majority of the time trolls do not know the entirety of a story. You know,
Never.
and they never can. You know, so in their place maybe they think that their opinion is valid. It might be from the context of things that they are provided with, but I know that's not the same as the context of things that I'm provided with. I have a much bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I cannot let their words affect me, because I know that they have half of information.
Sure.
You know, so I think that's also a perspective that I keep in mind that really helps me.
Sure. But I suggest just keep your blinders on and keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing it fair.
Thank
So
you.
just go ahead with it. What's next, Palak? What's next after Rosie?
So I am looking at some scripts, and I have liked some as well, but I'm gonna wait for the people that do the announcing to do the announcing.
Lovely. We can't wait to see that. We can't wait to see Rosie, and
Thank
all the
you.
best for everything that you're gonna do.
Thank
in
you
the
so much.
future.
It was lovely talking to you.
Same here, Palak. Thank you so much.
Thank you.